1 minute. All right, we got some more participants. Hello, people of the internet. Good morning. Probably won't be the longest presentation if we don't ask questions, but I still recommend a potty break before we start. Well, should have probably already taken that if you were responsible now. But we'll give it till 9:01. It is currently 8:59 on my time clock. We're giving that 1 minute for those people that might be confused of the new software like I had been. I just learned a fun thing. This is my first live session. We have never used this equipment before, but we figured out how to interface the OpenGov Challenge template. So even though I'd like to take credit for all the fancy graphics splattered upon my slideshow, I'm going to have to give my hats off to the Open Government Partnership for their support and helping me figure out how to walk y'all through what I feel is important to go over today. So there's only 1 more minute of rambling and we will kick this show off. Mind you, you can ask any questions. This is preferably open, an open conversation. So I don't want to go over your head because a lot of it's a little complicated. And believe me when I say I'm not even getting into all the details. It's more of a broad overview of the concerns at this point. I mean, there's some details in there. Don't you worry about that now. And I guess 9:01 was when we said we got some participants and somebody was here and then they dropped out. Darn it. We'll give them a quick moment or we'll move this slide to the next one now. Welcome to the By and for the People's Open Government Week Challenge. I'm excited to put this slide together. I'm going to stick to the script. I'm Josh Wilson. I've been commenting on biotechnology with the federal government for over 12 years, and all of it on biotechnology mostly. I started an organization, byandforthepeople.org, in 2002. And in general, By and for the People organization's sole goal is to start conversations on the topic of biotechnology, right? So biotechnology, Google it if you need to, but we'll get into it in a bit. What By and for the People organizations does is we respond to the government proposed rules in the agencies of Bureau of Land Management, CEQ, which is a Council of Environmental Quality, and a lot with USDA APHIS, Animal Plant Health Inspection Services. So to recap it, on September 12, 2022, there's an executive order from Biden on advancing biotechnology, biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy, right? Well, this was an all-agency approach. And so this EO started a mass change in the federal government agency practices regarding biotechnology. Some of the key players, which there are a lot of them, but some of the key ones would be USDA APHIS, BRS division, and they have a proposed rule that is to be let out here very, very soon. I emailed them, asked them to attend. They might be in there. If they are, say hello. We can even share the screen and you can talk if it's one of the guys from APHIS. Anywho, there's also a very recent new rule change that has been released for the NEPA Act. These changes have CEs in them, and we'll be talking about that here short enough. There's expanded intellectual property protections for crop seeds that happened recently. And all these things combined will make it possible for the use of biotechnology in public lands by MGOs to address climate change. Boom. Thanks for following me, guys. When I asked APHIS, because I've been in contact with them for a long time, when I asked APHIS where I could learn more about the proposed rule, because when they came out on November 15 in their stakeholders meeting, they roughly talked about it, and then they put out a proposed rule where it's really lengthy, wordy, and some, I was hoping there'd be news about it, but the facts are there is only 2 places to learn about the rule. There's not, to my knowledge, any news coverage that will actually get into the details and such. So anyway, I invite you, all of these links, mind you, are over in the chat box, and I'm going in order. So right now, this would be at the 2 places to learn about APHIS proposed rule. Anywho, follow me. Here's more about the proposed rule. On January 19th of 2024 was a final time to publicly make a comment on this is the title of it, movement of organisms modified to produced through genetic engineering. And it was a notice of exemption. So, of course, by and for the people, put some words together and put that in there, invite you to read it. And it really, it's like 18 pages of an outline of how they're going to push this stuff. So right now there is no news coverage on the world's largest GMO deregulation in human history in the US. They'll talk about it. They'll talk about innovation, science, and advances. What they won't tell you about on any news place that I have found thus far is that, they have the intent to do this in public lands, and that the NEPA rule and all the things that I'm talking about are here to fund it and whatever. So in the proposed rule, there are dockets, and you can visit this yourself, and there's 34 supporting documents and for the proposed rule. And most of them documents are from other countries, international interests, and non-peer reviewed. And majority of them do say that, hey, this is what we've learned so far, and we need to keep looking. So I find that fun. You could read that too. The proposed rule by APHIS will allow companies to use multiple stacked traits inserted into the genome and patented. The new organisms can be released without oversight and without records, right? And it depends on the family and the genome and all that such, but a lot of them are transgenetic, which means the wind can blow and mate with the native varieties and such. So that's one concern. These newly introduced organisms have not had an environmental impact statement, and for unintended consequences. And that is and this is because, look, I already even wrote about it. New changes to the NEPA Act. On 5/1 of 24, the final rule was released. The link is in the side, and that would be from CEQ. CEQ is a organization that is supposed to guide the White House in decisions, and in legal decisions, what they can and can't do that involves the NEPA Act. So they're not in charge of the NEPA Act. They're just they're, I guess, allowed to rewrite it, and we hope to see that in court by somebody who has the ability to do that, I would assume. But here's some of the recent changes that'll streamline biotechnology without oversight. This is a quote: "These changes are grounded in NEPA's statutory text and purpose, including making decisions informed by science." All right, we'll get into that too. Another one, there's supposed to be bullet points. However, the graphics didn't transition to the file, so yeah. Anyway, next one would be increased flexibility for agencies to use categorical exclusions adopted by other agencies. In this case, if APHIS decides that this proposed rule that they are waiting to release the final rule on, if they claim, which they are, that the categorical exclusions and basically you will, it'll be any biotech that falls within the rules of this proposed exemption will be as of nature, and then therefore nature can't, you wouldn't be able to sue a biotech company for some sort of transgenic release in the public lands or something. Anyway, other agency policy changes are, public land managers, all of them federal, and I guess there are some state. They're working with state. But they will now use site-specific EAs instead of environmental impact statements when doing climate change restoration projects. Right. The new rule will allow, there's supposed to be a bullet point, but the new rule will allow food products to be labeled as organic, and the BE label, that the short acronym is NBFDS label, will not reflect these exclusions. That means a heavy amount of biotech is going to go to the consumer, and that'll actually be listed as organic. And they're doing a lot of government grants and fundings for the organic, for federal organic food growing policies, but these exclusions will be included in those. So that's where we get into world trade issues that America's going through now, which we're not going to talk about because we're just going to talk about American soil. Trillions of biotech investments that the public is not aware of in both private lands and NGO investments, all in the name of climate change. Some of these, for example, are the current Farm Bill, and it's not been let out yet, but there are discussions, and we can read those notes. And the Farm Bill has biotech funding on page 518. The link is over in the thing. So that's one of them. There's another funding avenue that is, it's called RAP. This one just got released a couple of weeks ago. That's 30 million put into the acronym RAPP, and that's to make markets. And they talk about how, they're going to have to make this market happen around the world. So this is all just about advertising and making it possible around there. Anyway, there's also the International Climate Hub. Look for the link. This is where hundreds of NGOs and governments interface on restoration projects. And not all and every restoration project will use biotechnology, but you really got to validate and search. And if it does have to do with plants and animals, and it very likely has the intent, and you can research them. Fun thing I've noticed, if you jump around in the internal climate hubs and such, if you find the organizations that are working in the project, and then you research them with the word biotech, or go to their page and then search their page for like science, we'll get there. There's tons more avenues. I was just short on time. I put this together yesterday. So anyway, my by and for the people comment to APHIS will just have slews of different avenues that you can follow if you wish. All right. The big one, which I was just talking about, the term science and innovation is used in place of biotechnology. So when there's a lot of talk about science and innovation, right? Well, let's look at one of these. This recent EO for endangered species mandate science will be used. And this is on March 28th of 2004. Biden finalizes rules to strengthen protection and recovery of threatened and endangered species in their habitat. And then their next line down, if you visit the page, which is over there, is by leveraging the best available science, we ensure the law remains robust as we work to conserve and recover endangered and threatened species in their habitat. Right. Well, 2 weeks later, for example, 2 weeks later, for example, the U.S. Fish and Game Services announced their cloning advancements for the endangered Blackfoot ferret. Anyway, they cloned a really cool little ferret, and I'm cool with a lot of biotech. Just so as a note, I'm cool with biotech. What I'm not cool with is doing it in a manner that we're not tracking it and acknowledging that if it has issues, we just got to do proper science, and that's right now is when America is not respecting proper science. So right now, U.S. Wildlife Services state that this is not used in public lands. However, obviously with the executive order, it's being set up to advance. So, right, they'll use science and innovation. They'll also use other terms used for biotechnology, regenerative farming, resilient crops, science-based decisions, and simply solutions. Seen a lot of that. We'll keep moving on here. Oh, this is fun. Trust the science is the most anti-science statement ever. Questioning science is how you do science. So I agree with that little fun caption, right? All right. I didn't have a lot of time to finish this slide. There's so much more you can do, but what can a person do to be involved? If you're concerned about what I'm talking about, the best place to start getting the information is directly. What I notice online is you get all these whack jobs busting out like Bill Gates, arrest this guy, releasing mosquitoes. Everybody they yell at somebody that is not in charge of the regulations. And then the regulators won't tell anybody about what they're doing. So all this frustration, it seems, is building up in this dark hole of miscommunication. So if people feel like there is something that they're concerned with, whatever this aspect in life is, you go to the root of the cause. And in this case, this one would be APHIS. If you're concerned about biotech and animals being released in public lands without anybody knowing about it, I suggest that you follow in the link. You can go to the USDA APHIS website. I think they even have a pop-up one, but if not, you just go over to their, subscribe now. And then, so when they subscribe, they make it really big complicated with this drop-down menu. You want to read through each one of them, plants, animals, biotech. But some of the real ones you want to get into, which are going to be super important, is trade. I mean, it's good to know what's going on in the world. And then the photos, I'm zooming in. I don't think you guys see that. Okay, and then the photosynthesis certificate insurance and international photosynthesis standards is an important one. So go to APHIS, click I want to follow this, put in your email, and start watching what's happening. And then tell your friends. Come tell me you found something. I can't see it all. I mean, I don't have perfect attendance in my 12 years, I assure you that. But I see what I see, and nobody else is seeing it, and that's why I'm doing a show. I want to make conversation on biotech. I hope people start talking about it. I hope it gets, I'll make this recording or this meeting recorded, and maybe you can share it with some people. You can follow Informed People on our website. All right, this in here. Nobody's wrote any chats. I wish they would, but by and for the people.org. You can click on that. You can follow me directly, reach out. I'd love it. A lot of interesting things on this topic. I'm giving you an overview, scene of it, but I can assure you that the rules are getting designed so this stuff can be paid out to these NGOs through public lands restoration projects. So keep an eye on it. More people talk about it, which right now is a big fat zero. Somebody has some news that they know of and want to share with me, I'd love to hear it. But I can assure you, a lot of work to be done. Subscribe. Thanks for attending. It means the world to me. And have a beautiful day. Thanks for attending. I will send out a recording to this show to all y'all inboxes so you can cherish it, enjoy it. But until then, take care. Thanks. Anybody? Oh, any questions? Anyone got something? I'm waiting for you.
Hi, Josh.
Oh, did I? Yes.
Hi, my name is Steve Buckley.
Hi.
And I know something about the National Environmental Policy Act. I used to work in the federal government writing environmental impact statements and other assorted NEPA documents. So, yeah, the Council on Environmental Quality is the President's Council on Environmental Quality, and they don't advise the president. I mean, they certainly can advise, anybody can advise the president if you work for the federal government, but they issue regulations. They don't just, they're not an advice. I just want to make clear that you knew that. And you mentioned they just issued some regulations, which are not advisory. They have the force of law.
Yeah.
So, and they're new, and there's probably some things that need to be worked out. But it's been my experience that federal agencies, or even state and local, people have a mission. Their office, their program has a mission, and a lot of times they look at this process of consulting the public or letting the public know what they're up to as a bother, because they already know what they're going to do, and and they so they spend a lot of their time avoiding environmental impact statements, and if possible, avoiding environmental assessments, which are lesser documents. And yes, everybody, if only everybody could have a categorical exclusion, which is basically a waiver, a self-granted waiver to say, oh, this doesn't amount to anything, so we don't need to tell anybody about it. So yes, I'm just, the bigger picture is that this is not, what you're pointing out is not just with APHIS, but it's very common, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. And of course, you posted this under open government, so that's the whole idea about open government, is people need to be involved in the decisions that affect their lives. But like I said, there's kind of a cultural, government culture is kind of like, well, we know what, we're the experts, and the local yokels are not. So
Stephen, bless your little heart for speaking up. That was very incredible stuff, and I am kind of nervous. I've spent a lot of time trying to understand a lot of this, but yeah. Now, what do you do now, Stephen? What you were working?
I'm semi-retired. Let's say that. It's like instead of playing golf, I go to public meetings and see what they're doing right and wrong.
Oh,
as far as the conduct of the meetings go, not just at the local level, but all the way up to the federal level. Like I say, my experience is federal. So anyway, yes, NEPA should be called the Secret Public Participation Act, because that's really what it is supposed to do, is create as much information as practical, so that whoever makes the decision can be as informed as possible, without going to the nth degree, but that they can make a reasonably well-informed decision. And also that the idea that maybe the locals know something, maybe the people outside the government might know one little piece that might be important, that could change everything. So, which sometimes is the case. Like you say, when, sometimes the locals say, hey, I noticed some of those seeds, they seem to be growing over across the street. now,
right.
and
I
that's
can,
something that the people in Washington, D.C. can't tell because they don't
they're
live
not sure. Well,
there.
I've actually, man, first, really, you made my day by joining this show. I appreciate that. Stephen, I want to ask, maybe you'd be interested in Buying for the People organization would be totally willing to give you some money to just advise me and go over some things later if you had time. I'll throw that out there. But two, um, I guess to follow up on that, I have some really interesting NEPA decision or NEPA acts that I'd love to go over with you. Like they'll start a NEPA act, or a NEPA open, please comment. And they would always shut those down. Anytime I reference my stuff, they'd say, hey, we actually let the clock run out for the NEPA review. And now we're just going to do a site-specific NEPA review. So they found a way to dodge my questions. Anyway, I'd love
Yeah,
to chat with you on a
yeah.
bunch of
Well,
different.
don't feel bad. This happens in virtually every agency. There might be one or two, but they're the exception that actually want to hear or are curious enough to do a meaningful and genuine inquiry into what they might not know.
Oh
So,
man, I got FOIAs blasted everywhere. I expect tens of thousands of documents. I've been doing this. I bet you I got 50 public comments that date back to 2013, on these topics, some good ones too. Like, anyway, if you might be interested in if you're semi-retired, that means you semi-work. I wonder if you might be willing to spend some time with
mhm,
me. We could, maybe you could help advise me on things that a guy could do because I've been hitting a brick wall. It's insane. I'd
mhm.
love to see if I could get, or maybe you might know somebody that could be a good advisory person I could chat with to try to unravel my big tall ball of yarn. I don't know. Just
uh
wanted to ask you, maybe you'd be willing. It'd be cool.
Sure, sure. And just in case anybody's listening to this, or we can talk some more at it. I don't want to hog the time here. Maybe there's somebody else who wants to pipe up.
Oh, that would be
Um,
so cool. Anybody can
so,
just say hi. We see some people out there,
so
man. It'd be cool if we heard about you. Did we nail
okay.
this season?
Well, I wouldn't rely just on the chat. I mean, and I've never used this platform before, so I don't know where the raise hand function is. So
I didn't
I
push
just
any button for you. I think anybody can just talk at any time.
okay, yeah. You get as long as you tell them, what the procedure is. I muted myself. So
Oh, yeah. I want
um,
to say everybody's just open. It's funny. So I've been going to like these APHIS meetings, stakeholder meetings, or what they've called. I've been doing that for a very long time before they even ever recorded them. Now they record them from 2018, and they have systematically found a way to make it so like the participants can't talk to each other. You used to be able to talk to each other, say, "Hey, what's that?" And they systematically found a way to just leave you out of the conversation. I used to be able to get questions answered, and then, yeah. Anyway, super interesting history I got with what you said, and you made my month by speaking up. So I appreciate
okay.
you. It's
Well,
great,
I
great to
applaud
speak
you
to somebody.
for finding the Open Government Week, and
Oh,
that there's this platform to
oh, that's my.
that there's some. Most people don't know that the uh, federal government has an open government working group. So
Is this something new? It seems like it's really new. Like, hey, you say you will adopt these. I looked into it a little bit. Like, who is this organization? And I did a thank you. We're on the thank you page now. But wow, what an awesome platform. 'Cause I got to tell
well,
you, Twitter won't let me speak. Facebook
heck,
won't let me speak. The word biotech has now become like when COVID-19, when you couldn't talk bad about it on the internet, it just like silence, hide you or whatever. That's what biotech has become. It's the new word for COVID injection bad, like talking bad on vaccines. Like you can't do it publicly. I've tried it on a couple different other people's platforms, and once it figures out those letters or that you're going for it, because it has a negative spin on what they feel is, you know, best for the people, they won't let you actually openly conversate. And so this open gov thing saying, hey, no, they can do it is huge. And I applaud you. We're on the thank you page. So thank you, Open Government Partnership. And
Well, that's not the federal, not federal. That's
but they
just
were pushed into a corner to where they have to allow it.
Well, real quick, I'll give you the real quick. 2009, President Obama, the first thing he signed in his first full day in office, was the Open Government Memorandum, directing federal agencies to be more transparent, participatory, and collaborative with people outside the government. And anyway, below the radar, of course, you know, it's not, so that's 15 years. So it's just been floating along under the radar, putting along and issuing action plans and so forth and so on. And if you were to Google Obama Open Government, you'd probably find it. It's been archived. You can find it. So it started then, and then 2 years later, this nonprofit group decided to start up a club, an open government club, where they could all get together and supposedly and compare practices and so forth and so on. And so that the Open Government Partnership is that it's nations can join. So anyway, they largely called the tune, and so but they can't tell the federal, of course, U.S. what to do. It's kind of like a health fitness club, you know. You go in, you got some trainers, and you don't have to do what they say. You can walk out, right? So it's kind of like that. You join a fitness club. And
I was trying to see, because it seems like they expanded. That makes sense to me now, reading kind of through their histories. They expanded, and they hope like the world will use this platform to help.
We'll join their club. Their fitness
I don't
club.
know if it's any good or not, but hey, I met you, and they let me post things that they won't let me post on social media. Like my opening title would not be allowed to be on Facebook or X. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, the other thing is, I'm not sure if you found it, and other people who are listening, is the current effort has an active website, and it's at open.usa.gov. open.usa.gov. I thought that might be how you found it. But
I'm in so many places. I put that in the note. So if anyone,
so that's the official. That's the official. It's .gov, not .org.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Open Government Partnership is. .org.
So that worries me that my .org version of my request that this happened in time. I like records. You know, I really love records. And that's why I wanted to put this up there. But darn it, I bet you it's on the .org page and actually not put on the .gov page. So that bothers me. But hey, here we are. We're still doing what we can.
There's a link. You can find a link to the. I think you posted it to the Google group. There's a Google group, and there's a link there. If you go to open.usa.gov, there's a link to both an official email list, which is an announcement only, and the other one is informal Google group, which is discussion, moderated.
And that's probably where you might have found me.
Yep.
Yep. Well, hey man, you're a high caliber individual, and I really hats off to your time. I hope we get to meet again. I'd like to follow up with you, and thanks for blessing this little chat with some.
Well, I guess you'll see, if you want to send me an email, you probably have my email in the attendee list.
I do, and I certainly will.